What do you do when you're an expert and you have questions? Well, you go to the expert. You go to your expert's favorite expert. That's what we're doing tonight. We got big boards, landing spot predictions, and draft day value swings with our special guest producer. No further ado, hit that button. Welcome to another edition of the Dynasty Polls right here on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, and probably talking West Tennessee 105.1 FM. I am Bigz. We got Grindberg in the house. Schultzy's on the ones and twos. Book of Eli Stowers, Chev GPT is here. And we got a very special guest, one of the most accurate fantasy analysts in the history of fantasy football. How are you guys doing?
We're doing awesome. We can't wait to get our guest on stage. How you doing, Chev?
I for sure thought he forgot me for a second, and I was like, damn.
Pat's You're unforgettable. That's what you are.
You are unforgettable. Yeah.
In every way.
You're a guy, man. We love you, dude. How could we forget Chev? Schultzy?
No, honestly, I kind of zoned out for a second because I was like, yes, it's time. Pat's here.
Pat is here.
And Bigz was hyping it up, and then I was like, oh, he didn't mention me. Maybe I'm here in spirit. Maybe I've transitioned to a different plane, and the draft has got me so excited that I've gone to the cement island, cement holla.
Well, you are on another level. So do I want to do like a big preamble getting into this video, or do we want to run the video and then I'll read the intro?
Yeah, let's run the video. Let's get our guest on stage here.
Atlantis with
Grindberg, Chev, Bigz, Schultzy, Coach.
You. Hey, yeah, of course. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he'll turn up sooner or later. I mean, to think that one of his friends killed him for no reason whatsoever would be too ridiculous. Isn't that right, Patrick?
It's Pat. A lot of people ask, who's he?
It's time for expert analysis.
Here comes Pat.
Just unhinged. Well, Pat Fitzmaurice is on the show, fellas. He's the managing editor and a lead fantasy football analyst at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. A longtime industry veteran who's been dropping sharp fantasy advice since the 90s. One of the most consistently accurate rankers in the industry. Second overall in the accuracy contest in 2017. Widely respected for his process-driven, data-informed takes on rankings, draft strategy, and player evaluation. He handles overall rankings, dynasty and keeper boards, positional rankings, and most relevant here, 2026 NFL mock drafts. Welcome, Pat. Again.
What an intro. Thank you, Bigz. And great to see all of you. Thank you so much for having me. Glad that you were kind enough to invite me back after, I flag planted Keon Coleman.
I was
on. So, or a couple of years ago. No, it's great to see you guys again. And I love that video. And
that was cool, kind of unhinged, talking about murder and stuff.
Well, we got some Willem Dafoe, and he's a fellow Wisconsin native. So
there you go. See, I dug deep. I try to get some videos that will pop, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Sometimes I'm like worried when I get a guest on. I'm like, am they going to get to be infected by what I say? But you never know. But I'm glad you were a good sport there, Pat, and we're excited to have you on the Pulse. It's it's an important time for us because you were one of the biggest influences on a lot of us, starting out in the content world, and it's an important part to have you back. You helped us gain our show some notoriety, and our best viewed show last year was the one that you had, and we're gaining more momentum, and hopefully we can break another milestone here with having you back on a second time here, Pat. So welcome back to the Pulse.
Very kind of you, Grindberg. I'm honored to be back.
Love it. All right. Well, let's get into the probing. Whenever we have an expert, we like to do some probing, and we're going to talk about this rookie class. It's, pre-draft right now, and the draft is next week. It's crazy how fast it came, and we're ready to talk to Pat about what we want to know about this expert. So let's run that video there, Schultzy, and get some probing done. So we've got Pat as our expert, and Schultzy, you're first on the mic here to talk to Pat about your question. So probe him.
All right, here we go. First up, so we've spent the last couple months, talking about all these rookies, and we've done it all without one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, and that's draft capital. And that could turn a mid-round guy into a league winner or keep a highly touted guy on the bench, right? There's a lot of variables here. So who do you think will be the biggest riser in fantasy value once the NFL draft happens here and we finally see some landing spots? For me, I think it's going to be Brazell. I think a team is going to fall in love with the measurables here and make an aggressive trade up. And that is going to send the fantasy community into a little bit of a frenzy. And I think there's your answer for biggest fantasy riser in the a week from now due to draft capital and landing spot. So who do you think it's going to be?
That's an interesting one, Schultzy. I know my Green Bay Packers are maybe interested in Brazell. They've had him and Ted Hurst in for visits among the receivers in this class. Those are the two they've chosen to have visits, and they kind of have a vacancy now that they let Romeo Doubs walk in free agency and just traded Dontavian Wicks to the Eagles. So I'm going to go with one from left field, though. I think it's going to be Taylen Green, the quarterback from Arkansas. I think if Dynasty leagues held their rookie drafts tomorrow, Taylen Green's average draft position would be somewhere in the 4th round, maybe even the 5th round. But I think he's going to be a day 2 pick. Some team that falls in love with the tools and thinks they can develop him. Like Taylen Green is 6'6", 227, ran a 4.36 at the combine, had a 43.5-inch vertical jump. And he has started 46 games in college, which is basically 3 times as many as Ty Simpson. 22 starts at Boise State, 24 at Arkansas, which plays in the best conference in the country. Even as a Big Ten fan, I have to tip my hat to the SEC. It's still the king of college football. So Taylen Green is raw, no question about it, but the toolkit is just insane. He's said to be very coachable, and by all accounts, he's a really good kid. So when he's drafted on day 2, his rookie ADP is going to move into the top 30. Brazell's a great answer. I think Malachi Fields and Ted Hurst are possibilities, but I think Taylen Green is the guy I think is going to make the biggest jump after the draft.
This show is a friend of Taylen Green.
Oh, good.
Talk about your Arkansas guy then. A little bit more then, because you obviously love your Razorbacks. So talk, to Pat a little bit more about it.
Well, one of the things that we've learned from FF Coder over the last couple of years is that draft age for a quarterback is starting to become less important in fantasy circles, and experience is starting to become more. So total snaps taken in college, Taylen Green has more than just about any of the quarterbacks entering the draft, especially Fernando Mendoza. Carson Beck is up there, but that's one of those things that we have to look at. And the profile is there. He's not exactly the most efficient passer, but we've had quarterbacks who've come into the league and have been fantasy winners, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson being the 2 biggest names, that have that rushing profile and questions about their arms. He obviously has a question about his arm, but the man can run the football. And as we know, watching Jackson Dart, that is fantasy gold right there. So I've been high on Taylen Green for a long time. I know Chev likes Taylen Green a lot, and we've talked about him on the show quite a few times. So, if he gets draft capital as a quarterback, his value is going to go sky high.
Awesome. Chev, why don't you comment on Taylen Green and then get into your question with Pat?
Well, with Taylen Green, I mean, Bigz said it best. There's so much viability when it comes to a rushing quarterback. The issue is whether or not he's going to be able to make NFL throws consistently, throw with anticipation, win from the pocket. But sometimes you're just so athletic you can get away with it for a little while. Like he's effective enough that if he got with someone like, say, a Kevin O'Connell, I know it's unpopular to think that, Kevin O'Connell can groom quarterbacks because of the debacle that happened with JJ McCarthy. But before him, it was really good for a lot of guys that were really good players. So would love to see him with McVay, just somewhere where he could sit and learn the position and learn how to be a professional. And I think that is unlimited upside because those types of guys are typically top 10 quarterbacks, if not top 5, because of the rushing upside.
And he did have 3 of 4 seasons where he completed over 60% of his passes, so that's
Right.
not for nothing.
Right. I mean, it's a developmental project. It's not that he can't do it. It's just that he's going to have to improve.
I selfishly would like to see him go to Green Bay and be Matt LaFleur's next Malik Willis.
Yes. See, that's another guy, known quarterback developer. And I don't really mention him enough. So thank you for that, Pat. Oh, it's also my turn to ask the question. All right. Who are the guys that you're keeping in your book of secrets that you've been monitoring for visits? I know you just mentioned Brazell and Ted Hurst visiting your Packers, but who are you looking at as a favorable landing spot that maybe no one else sees as a favorable? Dear God, what is that? I just saw my dude. All right. I'm gonna try to finish this question, but that is an atrocity. All right, that's a visual atrocity we've got going on here. Anyway, but yeah, who's the guy that you are looking to get a favorable landing spot to kind of firm your opinion or match the skill set? And who's someone that everybody seems to love that you're just completely out on?
Oh, okay.
It's just you and us in here, Pat.
Just us guys.
Let out the secrets.
Around.
Yes. All right. Yeah, Chev, I'm watching those top 30 visits. I mean, look, there are plenty of instances where a team doesn't have a player in for a top 30 visit, still drafts them, but there are some teams where the top 30 visits can be pretty indicative of interest. Like, I think the Texans are a good example of a team that drafts a lot of the players they have in for visits. So I think maybe the guy I'm most interested in his landing spot, Eli Stowers.
Yes.
So far, his top 30 visits, I think, are Titans, Cowboys, Rams, and Broncos. Broncos would be pretty interesting. I don't know about the Rams. They already have a bunch of tight ends, and they've been using a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. They have a lot of good wide receivers, so not sure about that. I wouldn't mind the Titans, because I think Stowers could instantly be like the number 2 target there, if not number 1. But I would love to see Stowers in Kansas City as the eventual heir to Travis Kelce, although he hasn't had a visit there yet. So he would be number 1. Kind of other guys like Skylar Bell, I'm anxious to see where he goes.
Mhm.
I think the Steelers are maybe the only team that's had him in for a visit, if I recall. And let's see, guy I'm fading, probably Mike Washington. Like, everyone was so, and sorry, Bigz, if you're the Arkansas guy and this is gonna make you upset, so we can talk about it. But I know everyone was excited when he ran that 4.33 at 223 pounds at the combine, and I was too, frankly. But a 1-year college starter. He's got a fumbling problem. Like, he's fumbled on close to 2% of his touches. And I think what bothered me about him when I kind of watched more than just the highlights with him, where that just all too often he doesn't take on contact the way a 223-pound back should, by just, lowering his shoulders and trying to deliver a blow. And he has this bad habit of turning his back to contact, which is like the last thing a big back should be doing. So knowing that he is probably going to be a top 15 pick in rookie drafts, like, I think people are that excited about him, I don't think I'm going to be getting him in any of my leagues because I don't know if he's like a round 2 value for me.
So you're saying he's no KJ Jefferson. It's interesting that you bring him up because on our previous show earlier today that we recorded, we did our top 5 rookie rankings for redraft, and I had Washington as my RB4, and these two guys below me had him as their RB2, where I had Jonah Coleman. So I'm much higher on Jonah Coleman based on his profile, and I'm not a huge fan of Mike Washington's draft profile, which is the motivating factor for me, like having him lower in the rankings. But we all love Mike Washington here.
See, senor, yes, I'm hurt. My soul,
My heart.
my heart.
Yeah. I mean, it could definitely work out. That like the tools, man, the size and the speed.
Right.
That's what we're excited about. And on the right team with someone who can coach him up, it could definitely work.
It's again, so with this draft class, I feel like there's only a few guys that there aren't that many guys that you feel like are going to be cornerstone, like blue chip guys, but guys that might end up being really solid, maybe even Hall of very good, but no one outside of really Jeremiah Love where it's, you are certain that you can just stick them in a semi-functional environment and they will produce. And I think that's just kind of the majority of this class. Mike Washington lands in that too. If Mike Washington goes somewhere and if he ends up being a Baltimore Raven and he's got to sit behind Derrick Henry until Derrick Henry decides he's done, or he goes, if like the Rams are just sickos and ruin all of our fun, or if he goes to Arizona, like it's going to take him a while to do anything. And Arizona's already got a running. They've got a running back at home that has the tools and hadn't done anything in Trey Benson. So why would they do that? But that's kind of it's so much more dependent on the situation than I feel like it has been in a while for a lot of these players.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what like everybody, we're hearing this Jadarian Price talk about the Seahawks, but what about him going to the Seahawks? Like Mike Washington there, he might have a direct route to, some touches right away, and that could be explosive. So yeah, I mean, it really is going to be landing spot dependent, and it's very fluid. Those 3 to 6 running backs at this stage. I mean, you could put them anywhere, right now. So yeah, I love the call. I mean, it's bold, but I mean, you're becoming, you're getting us a little bit back down to earth, Pat, which is something that we really need, because if we're steaming up Mike Washington and there's people that are, hey, pump the brakes. We've seen, a couple of years there where he wasn't producing. He's an older prospect. Yeah, these are things that we really got to consider. And maybe pump the brakes on him being at my number 2 now, right? I mean, that's something that I got to really consider as someone moving forward. And Jonah Coleman might be the guy that surplants him now, because of some draft capital and whatnot. So yeah, that's pouring some ice on our fire, which is okay, but that's important stuff to keep us even keel. So I love it.
I mean, it's hard to sort this class out after number 1 because there's only one really good bat, and then it's a bunch of maybes. And he certainly deserves consideration as one of the maybes, but I just think there's some other maybes I like a little bit more.
There you go. Excited to unfold those maybes, and we'll probably get into some of those as the show goes on. So I got a question for you, Pat. Now the draft is a week away. Managers and Superflex and tight end premium leagues are locking in their final rookie board. Some of them already started. Crazy people are already starting their rookie drafts before the draft, but it's going to come fast, and Sunday morning comes and those drafts are already started. So right now, a lot of boards show a pretty defined tier 2. Tier 1 is obviously just Jeremiah Love in my book. So you got tier 2, Fernando Mendoza, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson. You can interchange them in however order you want. But outside of those top 5, there's some cloudiness. So in the past year, several players have steamed up significantly once real draft capital and landing spots are known, turning what looked like a top tier spot into a much deeper one. So do you see anybody right now making that 106 pick right now more sought after this draft? And how far do you stretch that now to like maybe 108 being valuable? Because right now 105 is kind of the peak right now. Do you see it expanding to 106, 107, 108, or do you think it's going to cap at 105 here?
I think I see that tier pretty much the same way you do. Although early in your question you mentioned tight end premium, and in that format, I think Kenyon Sadiq and Eli Stowers are going to be right on the heels of those top 3 receivers in tight end premium leagues. Whether you want to say that's like end of tier 2 or start of tier 3, because Sadiq's pretty much a lock to be a first rounder, and Stowers is a pretty good bet to go early day 2. Mm-hmm. And then I think Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, and Denzel Boston all have a chance to crash the tier 2 party if the landing spot is promising. Like, I mean, if Denzel Boston goes to the Chiefs at pick 29, or wait, is it 29 or 30? I can't remember where the Chiefs.
I think it's 30.
Second pick is 30. Yeah. Okay, so if Boston goes 30 to the Chiefs, I think that would get people excited. I don't know if they'd be excited enough for him to pass Tate, Lemon, or Tyson. Probably not. But that might expand tier 2 a bit. And Omar Cooper is really interesting because he just keeps climbing and climbing in mock drafts. Like, he's up to 22 on the consensus big board on mock draft database. And I've seen him go to the Jets at pick 16 in some mocks, although I don't think it would be nice to have him go that early, although I think some people would be scared off by the Geno Smith thing. My Fantasy Pros colleague Andrew Erickson actually put a bet down on Cooper being a top 10 pick at 50-1 odds. So now we don't think it's likely Cooper's going top 10, but the way he's been steamed up lately, I kind of like the pot odds at 50-1 on a small bet. So, and let me run this one by you guys. So I have not heard any of your opinions on Ty Simpson, and I definitely have some reservations here. But what if the Rams, say the Rams took, as a lot of people have mocked them, Mekhi Lemon at 13? What if they traded back into the late first round, and took Ty Simpson? And all of a sudden he's the heir to Matthew Stafford and would be playing in a Sean McVay offense with like Puka Nacua and Mekhi Lemon, future wide receivers.
That's interesting. And the big thing that came out in the last couple of days that they were talking about Ty Simpson, there was a whole lot of blowback from Dan Orlovsky's comments about Ty Simpson. And then Mel Kiper Jr. came out and kind of backed up what Orlovsky had to say. That's very interesting. That's a good mental puzzle there, Pat.
Yeah. I think that might jump him past some of those tier 2 receivers.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the dream landing spot for Ty Simpson. I think that's kind of where I saw him, reaching his full potential, being able to percolate a little bit under a veteran quarterback. That's what these quarterbacks need, especially for a guy like Ty Simpson. What did he start? 12 games, and there's not a whole lot out of past his injury, right? Before his injury, he was lights out. So we really got to have some time there. And I think, standing and playing a little bit behind Matthew Stafford, that would be the dream situation there. And yeah, I think that, savvy dynasty managers, I think that would be the pick that would, steam him to 106 for sure. I think that would blow him right past everybody. That landing spot, Sean McVay, I think dynasty managers are savvy enough to know how important it is at the Superflex position to fill that void. And with a quarterback class that really doesn't have anything outside of Fernando Mendoza, who really isn't a generational prospect in some people's eyes, I see this pick in like your Taylen Green, who he may be able to steam up as well with some draft capital. But yeah, I think Ty Simpson is the guy that is the variable here because of how limited we've seen his action, and the book is still out. And I think that he just needs that progression. And I don't think a team is going to need to pay up, but that might happen at this stage, right? So yeah, I think that's a great call there, Pat. And the Rams are in a very good situation to do so. So I love it.
I wouldn't hate if the Raiders traded back and got a defensive piece, and and Orlovsky was right about him being more talented than Mendoza. Pat, real quickly in tight end premium rookie drafts, where do you see Bryce Trigg? Does he have the opportunity based on landing spot? Say he gets draft capital. A lot of people are talking about him being a wide receiver at the tight end position, and we've seen the success that's brought over the last few years. Say he goes in the second round. Do you see him sneaking into the first round in tight end premium rookie drafts at all?
Yeah, Trigg is he's kind of a puzzling one. Like some of the highlights look really good, and some of the other things on film look pretty bad. Yeah, like I see Chev shaking his head, and I know like Derek Brown, my Fantasy Pros colleague, and I are like not super excited. So I'm probably gonna be out on him. Like he'd still be, man, even in tight end premium, I'm not sure with a second round landing spot, he'd probably like still be back into the second round for me.
Okay. President of our 3-timer club, Derek Brown.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was on 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's a great follow-up. We had the
awesome.
Fantasy Pros crew here, and yeah, we love it. We love having you guys.
I know you didn't ask him about Trigg because he would have been shaking his head and expressing his scorn for him.
Well, it's just the steam that I've seen in the last week with Trigg. So that's what made me curious.
It's interesting. There has been like another one is Oscar Delp,
I love him.
Now has been talked up, which, yeah, I mean, a lot of people really like the traits. It's just, I don't think he's had even a 300-yard college season yet. But like people are looking for the traits, and there are a lot of really interesting tight ends in this class. I'll say that.
Absolutely. So what do you think about Sadiq to the Chiefs? Because that's what I'm hearing now, and I'm steaming that up. And you talked about Stowers there. So before we get into Schultzy question, I want to extend this segment a little bit more and see what your thoughts are there. Because, you know, first round draft capital, Chiefs got some draft capital here. And I see the Chiefs looking there. And Andy Reid's a very much of a guy that likes his tight ends, and very good fit. What just happened? Go ahead there, Pat.
Yeah, that would be interesting for sure. I mean, I feel like that is sort of the lottery landing ticket or a lottery ticket landing spot for a tight end. You know, and in some ways I would prefer Stowers just because I kind of think Stowers might actually be just a better pass catcher. But like, hard to argue with sub 4.4 speed for a tight end. And Sadiq could certainly like pass Stowers at some point. Like it's possible. I think Stowers is the better pass catcher right now, but maybe that won't always be the case. And if he were to go number.
Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening.
That's okay. Did you get that last?
Yeah.
Just if he went 109, we're probably seeing him like no later than 106 in any rookie draft, and maybe he even jumps some of the top 3 receivers, one or more of those guys.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Schultzy, it's your time here. Let's get your probing question for Pat.
It's Bigz.
Bigz,
it's your time. Let's get your probing question for Pat.
I feel like Chev. Like, am I just here spiritually? Oh.
Maybe I'm just a really cool fantasy analyst apparition of some sort.
I'm Mike now, so not only am I not here.
Yeah, but the slides are frozen, so that's cool.
Oh, okay. All right, Pat. Every year we hear talk about how strong or weak a draft class is. This year, the narrative is that QB is weak, running back is weak, wide receiver is pretty deep, and tight end is weak. Why should we believe the opposite is true for each position group? In other words, where should we buck the narrative and invest in the fade?
What if I completely buy that narrative, Bigz? No. Well, put it this way. I agree that the QB and RB classes are bad. I might not totally agree with the narratives at tight end and wide receiver. I actually think the tight end class could end up being decent. And I sort of cut myself off when I was about to talk about it a minute ago. It's just, it's going to pale in comparison to last year's class, which had Colston Loveland, who looks like a star, and Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin, Aronde Gadsden, all look like future, maybe even current tight end ones. So Sadiq and Stowers, pretty good prospects. I sort of like Max Clare. We didn't get to see the best of Max Clare last year at Ohio State. I mean, just totally overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. But like 2 years ago at Purdue, he had like almost 700 yards for an offense that was a complete dumpster fire and generated like 2,200 passing yards. So he basically had 30% of their output on a really bad team. Sam Roush, who's just, 9.99 relative athletic score. And the best, probably the best blocking tight end in the class. So he's going to be a 3-down guy. And Justin Jolie from North Carolina State, who's kind of interesting, like another who I like, honestly, a little bit better than Trigg. And then there are just a bunch of really interesting move tight ends who are much better as pass catchers than as blockers. And I do think most of those guys will flame out, but I think a few of them are going to stick and at least be rosterable in Dynasty. Guys like, even some of these flyer types like Riley Nowakowski from Indiana or
Gillenborg.
Yeah, Gillenborg has his pockets of who's the Koenig from Oklahoma, who's probably just mostly a special teamer, but it's kind of interesting. So it's going to be hard, and a lot of these guys are going to be undrafted in dynasty rookie drafts, but like might get picked up at some point. So
and then
go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, and then you disagree with the wide receiver class being deep?
Yeah, just slightly. I mean, I don't, it's not that it's not deep. I just don't know if it's any deeper than other wide receiver classes. Like I went back and looked at last year's class and I counted down and tried to remember like where I thought the cutoff was, where it goes from like maybe to like, nah, I'm not interested in these guys. And it was like about 20 to 25. And I feel like that's what it is this year too. And I feel like that's what it is most years, like about 20 to 25 receivers who range from good prospects to interesting prospects. And then there's kind of a drop off. And I feel like it's that way this year too.
Love it. Yeah, I think you hit it right on there. I think you're right with this tight end. This tight end, it's a really good class. I think you know what I mean. They're just under the radar at this stage, and I like Max Clare a lot. Like you guys mentioned earlier, I think he's a guy that is under the radar. He did really well at UConn, and then obviously where he went to Ohio State, he's going to be a little bit under the radar there because of where the competition, right? So I'm interested to see where his draft capital lands. I think that maybe he could steam up a little bit more and be on a team right away. And he's shown he's got some hands from the tape I watched. So we'll see there. I think this tight end class could really be something to be steaming up into the second round where a lot of that value is being lost right now, I feel. So I think the tight ends will really bring that class up a little bit here in my eyes, and the wide receivers, you make me open my eyes a little bit there as well, because there's not really a bona fide stud, really, you know what I mean, to really elevate it.
That's the thing. I feel like Tedero McMillan would be, if he were in this class, he'd be the wide receiver one, and I don't think for me there would be much question about that. Like if you guys had to give a letter grade to this wide receiver class, where would you go? Because I think I'm at like C+.
Yeah.
Around there, B minus ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Bigz,
it's just,
Sorry, Chev. Go ahead. Chev.
I was just gonna say it's just that you can't, like I said, you can't project these guys to. There's no you really felt electricity in the air when you were talking about Malik Neighbors. You talk about Marv coming out. There was some palpable excitement. For example, where would Ladd McConkey be amongst the wide receivers in this class coming out as a prospect?
Is that a question for Pat? Because I come across some interesting analysis with the top three guys, and
Well,
they
it's
seem
just,
to have.
that's just an open forum question.
I think he sits around right where Mikhail Lemon is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was like the wide receiver 6 or 7, probably even lower than that as a prospect. You know, I had Adonai Mitchell ahead of Lad McConkey coming in.
I had Ladd as like my wide receiver 2-3 in that class.
Yeah. Well, you're Bigz, so
That's awesome. All right. I think we could roll on here, guys, and get into our spotlight players, or kind of our flag plant guys that we think are going to really do well in this draft class. So let's get these. Let's get it started here, Schultzy and Pat. Let's talk about your guy. Really excited to hear you break this. Smaller running back down, but he's got electricity. He's very explosive. So I'm excited to hear what you say.
Yeah, Damon Claiborne of Wake Forest. He is smaller, 5'10", 188. But, for a smaller back, you want him to be fast. And Claiborne has 4.37 speed. And, that speed really shows up on tape, I think. Makes sharp cuts, good patience and vision as a runner. Doesn't go down easily. Like in some ways, I feel like he's almost better at the point of contact than Mike Washington is. And he's like 35 pounds lighter. So Claiborne is probably too small to be a workhorse, but I feel like he could be a productive committee member if he lands on a team that needs running back help, and maybe he sort of works his way up where he's sort of the 1A in a committee. Only 51 catches the last 2 years, but I do think he has pass catching potential. So just a guy I feel like has a little bit of sizzle and sort of movement skills that are going to play at the NFL level. To the point where I don't know that I necessarily like him more than guys like Emmett Johnson, Jonah Coleman, Nick Singleton. But I feel like he belongs on the same tier as those guys.
I like Damon Claiborne a lot. It's a lot of fun. Bigz, were you gonna say?
Well, we all really like him. Would you? Grindberg had him as a spotlight in our show earlier. Would you physically comp him to like a Bashal Tootin?
He's more slight than Bashal Tootin.
Okay.
He's 195. Bashal Tootin's like 207, 208. His BMI was much, much higher than Damon Claiborne.
Yeah, Tootin's stout.
Yeah. But I would say like Brashard Smith, Keaton Mitchell, the Naheem Hineses of the world, that would probably be more along those lines.
I think the thing is though, I think he's more of some of those guys like Brashard Smith and Naheem Hines are sort of pass catching backs. And I actually think Damon Claiborne can be an effective runner. Maybe like Keaton Mitchell in that regard. But I actually think despite his size, I think he's a little bit more rugged than those guys, just as far as him being able to bounce off contact.
Would you say kind of like Bucky?
I mean, that is the high end comp, and Bucky, unfortunately, a guy I was not on at all when he came out, just because I saw the size, and when he ran what he ran in the 40, I'm just nah, I'm not interested.
Right.
Here's the guy who's a lot faster, but yeah, Bucky is great with contact. Claiborne, stylistically, Chev does remind me a little bit of him, just faster, but obviously Bucky has turned out to be fantastic and just really explosive. And I don't know if I can get that excited about Claiborne, but maybe.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously nobody, if you had someone that told you that Bucky Irving would be basically an RB1 in points per game at, his rookie year coming out of Oregon, you'd be like, hey, you should go play the lottery because you clearly know something. You're a time traveler. But I mean, it ended up working out that way. So you never really see it come. Nobody saw Puka. Everybody knew Puka was good that watched the film, right? But no one knew he was this good. So sometimes you just don't know until it happens.
Yeah. But that was the thing. There were some people who, some of the scouting reports said that Bucky was really good at bouncing off contact. I feel like Claiborne has that in his arsenal.
I agree. I'm right there. I'm right there with you. He was one of the most fun watches on film, just kind of breaking down, just because it's the jitterbug. It's the thing where all the linebackers are 230 pounds now, so there's not the consequences that it was when Ray Lewis was playing linebacker for these guys to run between the tackles.
Exactly.
Schultzy, it's your turn.
Your turn, Chelsea. Break your guy down.
All right, for me, it's going to be Jacoby Lane, and I'm a big fan here. We got a 6'4", 200-pound receiver who came out and lit up the combine. He got 9.38 RAS score, ran a 4.47 40, 40-inch vert, 10-foot, 9-inch broad jump. So you love to see that. He came out of the season, 2 seasons here playing predominantly with Mekhi Lemon, and we talk a lot about the yards per route run threshold. Jacoby Lane finishes just underneath that at, I believe, 1.95 was his number, so we like to see it above 2. However, to me, this has some Brian Thomas Jr. vibes, where when you're playing with other dudes who are that good, it's gonna eat away at some of your potential here. But going back to the junior year for Jacoby Lane, playing with Mekhi Lemon, he posted a 2.42 yards per route run season. He's going to be 22 at the start of this season. I think he's a very, very smart football player. We've talked before on this program about Devontae Adams, and I see some similarities there about just like how he wins, not athletically, right? There's a lot of football IQ behind what Jacoby Lane does and how he wins and how he sets himself up to win against corners. He wins a lot vertically. He's not completely limited to that. I see a lot of Allen Robinson out of Jacoby Lane's game. Ton of highlight reel catches. You love to see that. Ton of one-handed stuff, just off the charts, crazy catches from Jacoby. This guy's a really, really, really tough player. And I think NFL teams are going to really like that out of his game. You go look at the Notre Dame game from this year. I mean, they jammed him all night long, and he had a tough time with it. I mean, most receivers, when you press them that hard all night, are going to struggle. But he kept going at it, like route after route. Like this guy he showed up and he kept eating away at it until he broke one free and scored like a 55-yard touchdown. Follows it up with a 2-point conversion to him, and he won it just by routing up the defensive back. And that was a play right there that really reminded me of Allen Robinson, of a touchdown he scored in his time in Jacksonville. But yeah, man, I love the toughness out of him to go out there and just get the crap beat out of you all night, but still have the toughness and the wherewithal here to go out for six catches, 111 yards, a touchdown, a 2-point conversion against a really tough defense in Notre Dame. So Jacoby Lane's a great football player. Excited to see where he gets drafted, but I love him. I'm going to have some shares, and I think his skills translate very well to the NFL.
Pat, what do you got to say about Jacoby Lane? Are you in green with Schultzy, or do you have some red flags?
I'm actually kind of happy that Schultzy brought up Jacoby Lane, because like I wanted to hear a good sales pitch. Like I've been kind of Jacoby Lane agnostic. I'm not sure where to, like, I think I've got him like, I don't know, wide receiver 18 or 17 in this class, which I feel like is kind of in line with most people. Yeah, the size and the speed are really exciting. Good combination of that, and he tested really well. But like Schultz even brought it up himself, like the press and how he's able to handle the press is maybe one of the bigger questions about him in the scouting reports I've seen, and also just generally like his route running. Like maybe he needs some refinement there, but like guys can get better at that, unless they're named Keon Coleman, I guess. So yeah, so I'm open to that, and it's like I know he's kind of on the day 3, day 2, day 3 border. Like I think over on Mock Draft Database, Jacoby Lane is somewhere like around 107 for his overall placement. Yeah, I'm open to it. And I gotta say, Schultzy did a good job of pitching me. So it wasn't fun to hear the name Allen Robinson evoked though. 'Cause I saw him he was sitting in Camp Randall when he and Christian Hackenberg of all people just did a number on my Badgers one day and sent us home after a pretty bad loss. But yeah, that was a fun breakdown. Nice work, Schultzy.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Awesome. That's a good feather in the cap, Schultzy. Awesome. Maybe changing Pat's mind. He may steam him up to 15.
I'm excited right now because right now is an opportunity for Chev to put on his chef's toque and cook.
Let's do it, Chev. Let's hear you talk about your guy. We know, everybody knows, and actually, I think that we were, blessed with not having you on the show with D-Bro because it would have just been a Ted Hurst show the whole way through. So you can talk about Ted Hurst right away, Chev. You'll have your little bit of spotlight here, but we didn't want to take over a whole Pulse show for just Ted Hurst. We could probably do that in the future, though, once he gets drafted.
Yeah, we should all get together, and in memoriam of Keon Coleman, we should celebrate Ted Hurst. All right.
We'll all live stream from our local hardware store cement aisle.
Yes. I'll be actually broadcasting from the concrete mixing truck. All right. So with Ted Hurst, it's a guy that I kind of found by accident just watching Vanderbilt and Eli Stowers. And I was like, man, it would be really cool if, somebody else just came through. Like I was like, you just have somebody that's off the radar and you just keep seeing Ted Hurst like pop up. He catches the go-ahead touchdown in 2024. And then he took another step forward this year and he gained 20 pounds between the beginning of his senior year and the Senior Bowl. And he still looked very fluid. And then he comes out and he runs a 4.42. He's got the 35, 36-inch vertical. And, it's the ball skills, though, that really give me really aggressive vibes. I have a friend who's on the staff at Georgia State where he was, and he said that they believe that he could be one of the best receivers at any level that they've ever coached. And so there's all this aggressive signal, but we're talking about a guy that, played lower level college football, but also the important point is he made it look like he was an NFL guy playing against lower level college football players. So it looked the way that it was supposed to look, and it's just been positive signal after positive signal after positive signal. I think that all the visits now, the NFL has started to take notice, like, hey man, that's what it's supposed to look like. I mean, I think that, he reminds me a lot of Romeo Doubs and what Romeo Doubs has developed into, but I think his ceiling could be even higher because he's so creative and so good after the catch. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, I've become almost conditioned to not want to like Ted Hurst, at least not as much as D-Bro, because I feel like I'm listening to him talk about Randy Moss when he talks about him now. But no, it's pretty much everything you said about him, Chev. I agree with. Like he was, you do worry about the small school competition, but like when a guy goes out and just dominates the small school competition, and also just the balls in the air, like he is kind of like Carnell Tate in that you feel like if the ball is thrown deep and it's in his area, he's going to go up and come down with it. You're just like confident in that. Because great at tracking, great at body control, same Carnell Tate stuff. Like that's Ted Hurst's recipe for success too. So and I'm kind of excited that the Packers have expressed interest in him because like he would walk right in as a number 4 receiver for them. They got like pretty much no one behind Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Jaden Reed. Like then it's down to like Bo Melton and Sky Moore. So like he could instantly be their wide receiver 4. And then, Christian Watson and Jaden Reed haven't been the most durable dudes in the world. So like possibility for him to contribute right away. Yeah. I like Ted Hurst.
So staying on small school guys, where do you have him in comparison to Bryce Lance? Both of those guys played down to lesser competition, but when they are on the field, they look like they're the best player on the field.
I think Ted Hurst has a little bit more of a complete resume, so I've got him maybe like 2 or 3 spots higher in my rankings.
Okay.
Love it. All right.
Yeah. I think I have Ted Hurst at 9, and I have Bryce Lance at 14, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I got Bryce Lance at 12 and Hurst at 13. Just very splitting hairs here between those two prospects. I like.
No, I know what this is. It's because North Dakota State's so close to Canada.
Exactly. It's like honestly, it's the closest state to my province of Manitoba. So like literally North Dakota.
Province. What are you talking about?
Blame Canada.
Yeah.
Ask him who his QB2 is.
Yeah. Google it. It's part of this world. It really is.
No.
Were we about to get a Cole Payton pitch?
There you go. No, you're not getting a Cole Payton pitch, but you're going to get an Omar Cooper pitch because he's the guy I'm pounding the table for this year. A physical. He's the yak monster receiver. I think he profiles as a contributor right away. Wide receiver 2 upside here. He got the toughness he brings to the NFL right away. 6 feet, 200 pounds. I like that build for sure as a power slot guy, and I think that's where he's going to play. 4'4", 240, 37-inch vertical. I love that. He brings that running back build, but elite contact balance and the ability to absorb hits after the catch while churning out extra yards like a tailback. And, he's versatile. He's a red zone threat as well. He's good in the screen game. I'm looking at him as a guy that NFL teams are going to be really fancy over because I think he's going to be steaming up potentially here up into the first round, and that's going to bring his floor to some target play here. His big playability creates spike weeks for me, and I think it's going to be able to swing matchups. So I like this guy. He's my flag plant. He's my wide receiver 5 right now, ahead of guys like Denzel Boston. Not on the same wavelength as like the Casey Concepcion at this stage, but I think that, a team is really going to like what he can do. He's a mature guy as well, playing in a Cignetti offense that really tailors to, these players. They're going to come in and they're going to play professional football right away, and a team is going to really like that because they're skilled to do that. So I'm really flag planting my stuff here on Omar Cooper because I'm seeing him go, at the tail end of the first round. I don't think that's going to be the case here after this week, after the draft. I see him going at the 108, 109 range because I think a team is going to really like his skill set, his Puka Nacua-like versatility where he can be physical as well. So I'm not comparing him to Puka, but I think I like that yak ability and where he can, grind out those yards. And I think a team is going to really like Omar Cooper. So really interested to hear your take on Omar there, Pat. So tell me if I'm on the right track here.
Yeah, so I may or may not have a family member attending school in Bloomington, Indiana, and may or may not have watched a lot of Indiana games because of that this year, and because my Wisconsin Badgers were kind of in the tank. So, yeah, I fell in love with Omar Cooper this fall, and he's so tough. Like the toughness stands out. Like he is just a dog as a blocker. Fantastic blocker. I think it was, I don't know if it was maybe the first Oregon game. There was a play where he catches just a quick pass over the middle for like 5 yards, gets absolutely rocked, helmet to helmet. The other player is thrown out for targeting. I think Cooper might have had to leave the game for one play, just like mandatory. Comes like right back the next play, and I think he might have even had a catch the first play he's back. Like and after the helmet to helmet, like he wasn't even he just got up right away. Like this dude is so tough. Really good after the catch, really hard to tackle. Great footwork when he works the sidelines. I mean, great footwork. That game-winning catch against Penn State is one of the best catches I've ever seen. Where like I was almost he was up so high on that when he jumped, what you said it was 37.5 at the combine.
Yeah.
I feel like he got higher than that on the catch against Penn State, and then somehow turns his lead foot into his trail foot in midair. Like that was just one of the best, most unbelievable
body control. Yeah. It really was.
in the big time moment too, like in a game where they needed to, really cement themselves as a contender. And I think that really helped propel that team to the next level, right? It showed to them that they could beat the big time teams. And I think that really showed their team what was really going on. So I love how you highlighted that play.
Yeah. The only thing was, like, during the whole season, I figured, like, he was going to be, bless you. I figured he was going to be like a day 2 pick. Somewhere in day 2, I figured most people would have him around, wide receiver 8 to wide receiver 10 in the rookie class. I figured, maybe the stats would be a little obscured since they had a bunch of good pass catchers in that offense with Surratt and Charlie Becker. But unfortunately, everyone loves him as much as we do, Grindberg. That's the problem. Like, I thought I'd have him in every dynasty draft, but that's not going to be the case now, unfortunately.
Well, I think because of how the quarterback, position has been so suppressed in this draft that, some of these, it's really, steamed up the wide receiver class to be, we got to open up our eyes because that's what's, everybody's hearing is that this wide receiver class is so strong. So yeah, maybe that's probably why. And now people are on to Omar Cooper because of it. And his metrics are great. And his raw dogness, what I like to call it, is great. So let's go. All right. Who's next up on the questionnaire? I think it's you, Chev.
I'd like to talk real quick about Macklin Celebrini and the fact that he just scored his 115th point for the franchise lead in a single season for the San Jose Sharks. And the fact that he's only 19 years old, and in the last game of the season, the Sharks are putting a 6-1 drubbing on Winnipeg. Sorry, Mike. No. All right, I'm gonna talk about my flag plant guy, and I was kind of forced into this situation. So there are some historical profiles for running backs that find themselves with top 12 finishes. And one of those is breakout season. One of those is BMI. Another one of those is the age at draft, right? So I've talked a couple times about guys in this draft class that hurt themselves by either staying too long or transferring wrong, that kind of thing. And the guy I want to talk about is Nicholas Singleton, because this kid had a freshman breakout of over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. So double-digit touchdowns with a 1,000-yard season as a freshman. And then he followed that up in 2024 with another 1,099-yard season, another 12 touchdowns. And I felt like he should have come out as a junior, and he would have attained the freshman breakout, the junior declare, and his BMI, he's 6 foot, 218 pounds, something like that. So he's got the size. He decided to stay at Penn State and had his worst season of the 4 years that he was there. I tried to get him into a higher tier than these guys. I ran into a brick wall. I really love his draft profile. I like that he's a one-cut runner with good top speed. He may not have the most wiggle. He may not make people miss. But if he's in a zone scheme that creates holes for him and he can one-cut and have an open lane, he could do some serious damage. And I have him higher than these guys do. So I wanted to kind of get in here and give my case for Nicholas Singleton, because when the format of the show that I tried to talk about him before didn't really lend itself to a lot of like big profiling and everything. Where do you have Nicholas Singleton in this rookie running back class?
I think I might have him at 5. I do have him ahead of Mike Washington. So, and he probably has the best size speed combination of any back not named Mike Washington in this class. So yeah, when I saw him, I am a Big Ten wonk. So, like I watch a lot of Big Ten games, and when I first saw him at Penn State, like I thought future RB1 in dynasty rookie drafts at some point.
Yeah.
He averaged almost 7 yards per carry in the Big Ten his freshman year. He was phenomenal. And then, yeah, it's been like kind of a star-crossed college career for him. Where I think he won me over, Bigz, was at the end where you mentioned like not a lot of wiggle, because that's definitely true. He's like a little too straight line-ish. But if he can be a one-cut guy and like, get the Terrell Davis thing down where it's just like hit that hole, make that one cut, and off to the races, like that would be pretty exciting. It's funny because like people, I don't know. I do the Dynasty Fantasy Pros Dynasty podcast with the guy named Scott Bogman, and Bogman's like, Katron Allen is like not anywhere close to the athlete Singleton is, but he's got vision. He's like, Singleton has no vision. Then like we had Matt Waldman on the other day, and Waldman like is, total film junkie, and Waldman thinks Singleton's vision is fine. Then I'm reading the Dane Brugler report on Singleton the other day, and Singleton saying, or Brugler saying Singleton's vision is bad. So like I'm conflicted on him, but I think you painted a pretty compelling path to success for him, that as the one cut guy in the right scheme who could make it work, like probably a zone scheme. And yeah, like,
and I feel like he broke his foot at the Senior Bowl, so he didn't participate in the combine. He didn't have a pro day, so there are some markers that people won't have, and I think that it's a talent that you can bank on because we know what he brings, even though there might be some slippage there because, hey, he doesn't have a combine 40, he doesn't have a pro day 3 cone, and I think people who are looking for that going into their rookie drafts and not seeing that, he fades a little bit. But the talent is there.
I agree with that.
So I need to shoehorn this in too because I can't go a show without it. But there's another guy of the same class who had a freshman breakout. He wasn't quite as prolific as Singleton at 6.8 yards per carry as a freshman, but it was at 5.3. He's probably going to go as a UDFA because he also made a mistake in not coming out as a junior. Where do you stand on Jaydn Ott?
I know he has his advocates for sure. Like he should have. I think I've got him at like RB 18. Like God, is that insulting?
No, not to me, because I fully understand. Injured as a junior and then a terrible, terrible season at Oklahoma, not getting a combine invite, probably being a round 7 or UDFA guy. None of those speak to the talent level that I was able to see, not only as a running back but as a pass catcher. First time he was ever given a shot to return kicks, he took it to the house for a touchdown. And I just think that his decision to transfer to Oklahoma was absolutely terrible. And if he had stayed at Cal, being the dude, having his track record of 2 incredible seasons, I think he could have put together something else, put together another great season at Cal, but he just didn't create that opportunity for himself at Oklahoma. So I see another guy where he's going to be absolutely tanked because of draft capital and everything, but the potential is there if he gets a shot. I've seen the talent on the field. I've seen what he can do, and I know that an opportunity is like he's an opportunity away from everybody going, "Oh wow, look at this kid."
Yeah, I may be influenced by there's a friend in the fantasy community who I have to protect his identity here, who had a long anti-Jaydn Ott diatribe that I was forced to listen to at one point. And so maybe I'm kind of influenced by that, but you make an interesting case for him. And I know, I think he has a chance to get drafted too. And like you said, it's going to be one of those things, like if he can stick on a roster, and for running backs, like chances come out of nowhere.
Right.
Like I like Damian Martinez last year, and like, I'm still not ready to write him off, even though obviously the NFL didn't like him as much as I did.
Love it.
That's
all right.
fair.
Pat, man, great show. Appreciate you having us on. Well, appreciate you coming on our show. As usual, tell everybody where to find your awesome content.
Yeah. Great of all you guys to come visit. Now get out. No, just,
all right, bye.
No, this was a great time. I always appreciate you guys having me on and love catching up with you right before the draft. So, people can find my work at fantasypros.com. And, I hope if you guys aren't doing any live streaming during the draft, I hope people might consider coming and checking out the Fantasy Pros live stream for the draft. And even if you prefer to watch the ESPN or NFL Network coverage, maybe check us out the next day and hear what we had to say about some of these picks. So, and Twitter at Fitz_FF, and really appreciate you guys having me.
I'll have you on for the click while I'm live streaming.
There you go.
Perfect.
Love it. It's great having you on, Pat. And it's been a great show. And we'll see you next year, because we'll certainly have you back on if you're willing to come back on with this bunch of clowns, I guess.
Absolutely.
Love it. All right, folks. We'll see you next time on the Dynasty Pulse. And we hope you win, folks. Peace out.
We hope you win. We've all been there, watching a can't-miss rookie bust while your rival scoops up the next superstar on waivers. The 2026 class is deep, talented, and full of landmines. Do you know who's actually worth the 101? Stop guessing, start scouting. The Fantasy Sports Advice Network 2026 Rookie Prospect Guide is your blueprint for a dynasty. The experts from the Fantasy Forecast, the Devy Dojo, the Dynasty Pulse have logged the hours so you don't have to. From advanced analytical models to raw film grading, we give you the data that translates to Sunday points. Don't just participate in your draft, dominate it. Download the 2026 guide at FSAN.com today. Your championship starts here.
Yes.
I hate watching